Pause for a beat and listen if you sense a small, ancient voice calling your name from within, steady as an underground spring that's not random. You may be standing at the threshold of the best thing that's ever happened to you. I'm not talking about a lucky break, a new project, or a meet cute. I'm pointing to a new way of living where you stop performing old roles and begin inhabiting what's true. In the first 10 seconds, ask yourself, what in me most wants to live right now, but I've kept quiet? If that question makes your chest tremble, even a little will stay. We'll walk together. Have you noticed how the familiar can suddenly feel strange? Your calendar is full, you deliver, you smile, you answer. I'm good. And yet underneath, there's a hairline crack like thin ice humming when spring arrives. The things that once thrilled you feel faded. The praise that used to pull you through the day lands feather light. Don't rush to call it a crisis. In the soul's language, disturbance is an initiation. As Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. If fate has brought you here, perhaps what's moving isn't the outer world at all, but your inner compass quietly turning toward true north. Now imagine a brief dream, clear as a photographed dawn at a lakeside house, sea glass light in the kitchen. On the table, a silver bowl empty. The back door eases open. A wolf steps in, not menacing, but calm, stops at the threshold and looks at you as if waiting for a decision. From the living room, a warm, familiar voice says, "Don't feed it." You glance at the silver bowl, your hand stalls at the cabinet, then opens. You crumble bread. For reasons you can't name, your eyes well before the scent reaches your nose. The wolf eats quietly without looking at you. Suddenly, your boundary, blurred for so long, traces itself in a hair-fine line of light. You wake with a peace that feels both new and exactly right. If that image touches something in you, treat it as the unconscious knocking. Jung called such moments numinous, tinged with a quiet holiness, larger than reason. Outside, almost nothing changes. Inside, your map is being redrawn. You're less willing to play the pleasant one, the reasonable one, the one who's always fine. You're not trying to break anything, you just won't pretend. Here's the spark for your curiosity. Before any major change, the soul rarely sends a memo. It speaks in signs. A dream that trails you all day. A stranger sentence that hits home. Small coincidences, thick as mist. You open a book and the first page answers your thought. And there's a particular fatigue, the tiredness of someone done resisting what they know is true. If these signals are arriving, a deeper layer in you is taking the wheel. Not dramatic, not loud, just tidal. While you listen, place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Notice which line shifts your breath. When something lands, jot a single word: boundary, wolf, silver bowl, spring, or a name. By the end of this opening, you'll have 4 or 5 pocket stones of language, your private trail markers as we go deeper. Tonight, if you like, write one line to that deeper part. If you need me, come in images. Leave a pen by the bed. We'll learn to read that imaginal language without scaring ourselves. I know you're busy. Americans are forged to run, fast, finish, set the next target. But there's one job no one can do for you, the work of the soul. It doesn't demand you quit your job, move cities, or erase your contacts. It just asks you to stand beside yourself for 3 minutes without turning away. Once you stand there, the old tethers, old expectations, old roles, old ways of loving start dropping like autumn leaves. It hurts less than you think, just enough to remind you you're alive. To anchor this threshold, keep one young line tied to your finger like red thread. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. We don't fight fate, we name the driver. Name him and your hand rests on the wheel beside his. In the minutes ahead, I'll give you gentle, practical experiments and 5 recognizable waves to watch for the sacred crumbling of the old. The cracking of the mask, the shifting of your values, the rise of intuition, and the art of letting go as a rite of maturity. At each wave, an image, a question, a next small step. No dogma, no orders, just experiments kind enough to let your body join your mind. If you're ready, we'll begin where every rebirth starts, the moment you think you're losing everything, and in truth, you're getting yourself back. Listen for the smallest sound, the inner earth softly cracking open. See this as the first wave of your becoming, the moment when things seem to fall apart. not to vanish, but to clear a space where your truest shape can rise from the depths. Walk with me slowly like someone standing beside a river watching the current turn. The hardest part isn't changing, it's naming what's happening. Is this a breakdown that needs rescue or a transformational unraveling, an old right of the soul that your surface life hasn't caught up with yet? Start with feeling. You still wake on time, hit send on the emails, smile politely at coworkers. Yet underneath there's a strange undertone, as if your mind has slipped out of rhythm with your heart. Habits loosen. The words, "I'm fine," echo hollow like a just emptied room. That hollowness is not your enemy. In the alchemical tradition, Jung loved this phase is called nigredo, the blackening where everything descends into shadow only to be reborn with finer structure. Nigredo doesn't ask you to torch your life. It invites you to stay in the dark long enough for your eyes to adjust so new outlines can appear. Then when a force has been pushed to its extreme, something exquisite often happens. Enantiodromia, the swing toward the opposite, a self-balancing movement of the psyche. For years, you may have chased safety, collected gold stars of approval, stockpiled against emptiness. At the edge, you start craving something utterly different. Truth over correctness, meaning over applause. You're not changing personalities. Enantiodromia is at work. What's been suppressed returns not to destroy, but to integrate. When excess peaks, the wheel naturally turns back towards center. Let me tell you a small story. Call her Ava, 34, New York. Ava is so responsible, she sometimes lives on behalf of everyone around her. She dreamt she was standing on a wooden footbridge crossing the canal behind her childhood home. The water was black, yet clear, mirroring an indigo sky. On the far bank, a deer stood bright-eyed, unafraid, watching her, as if to ask, "Will you cross?" Ava looked at her hands. One tiny key, one unpaid bill. She laughed through sudden tears, laughing at a truth that stung and healed at once. She's crossed bridges for others all her life, while her own bridge waited. The next morning, she felt something new. Not a high, not a crash, more like inner furniture, quietly sliding into place. From then on, her daily question changed to, what is one small bridge of mine I'll cross today? If you recognize yourself in Ava, let's name the process. This is transformational unraveling, not pathological collapse. How to tell the difference? No long test needed, just 3 embodied signals measured by time instead of panic. 1. The tone of feeling. Pathological collapse often comes with scattered panic, total disconnection from your body. I'm not in myself and objectless dread. Transformational unraveling still carries fear and sorrow, but beneath it, if you listen long enough, there's a thread-thin steadiness, as if some part of you knows I'm moving in the right direction. You're not comfortable. You feel true. 2. The rhythm of time. Pathological collapse is a seasonless storm, random tearing through everything. Transformational unraveling arrives in waves. Each wave brings a small lesson. You start noticing motifs repeating in dreams, in chance encounters, in phrases you keep saying. That's the unconscious teaching you, not flattening you. 3. The direction of small behaviors. In collapse, behavior shrinks and isolates. You cut off connection, abandon basic care. In transformational unraveling, even while tired, you lean toward life-serving acts, a 2-sentence text to someone safe, 10 minutes in sunlight, a simple meal, one dream noted down. These tiny gestures are seed signs that your life instinct is collaborating with you. Try it now. Hand on chest ease, soft for 3 breaths. Ask quietly, is there the faintest steadiness under this fear? If there's even 5%, call it your guiding thread. Tonight, leave a slip of paper by the bed and write 5 words that come when you think of footbridge, deer key, or your own images. In the morning, just look at the words "no analysis." They are proof the unconscious has agreed to dialogue. You may ask, do I need a big decision right now? Nigredo dislikes loud decisions. In this phase, the 2% rituals are enough. Saying no to a plan, only fills a hole. Lifting your spine 2 degrees while answering a hard email. Eating 10 slower bites. Small, deliberate acts are magic because they update your body-mind map and signal to the unconscious that you're taking responsibility for your side of the work. As these accumulate, enantiodromia handles the rest. The wheel turns without you yanking it. I won't sugarcoat it. Transformational unraveling carries the funeral scent of the old. You may have to say goodbye to roles that once made you love, to relationships that only survive when you stay smaller than your truth. One day you might find yourself in a grocery aisle holding a familiar item, suddenly unable to remember why you've chosen it for 10 years. Don't scold yourself. That's consciousness waking inside a tiny gesture. The beauty is you can no longer pretend. Also resist swinging into a dramatized opposite. An antiodromia isn't theater. It's a precise, slow realignment, almost invisible to others, but your body knows. During this wave, you'll hear two voices. The persona, the mask that once kept you safe, brilliant at negotiating, whispering, "Don't disappoint anyone." And the voice of your being, fewer words. No threats, repeating something as simple as running water. Be true. At the first wave, we don't argue with persona. We thank it for all the rescues, then gently set it in the back seat. Boundaries won't explode. They'll appear like a shoreline as the tide goes out. If you take one thing today, let it be this: you're not broken, you're being reassembled. The soul doesn't rebuild with fireworks, it loosens one screw at a time. Your job is to hold the flashlight, name each piece accurately, and refuse to toss anything just because it's dusty. Parts that looked useless will click into place once their meaning is seen. And because change shouldn't be done alone, step into our circle. Leave a sign for each other in the comments, just one symbol to say, "I'm here, I'm unraveling," to become for Negredo, for the gentleness of intuition, for your personal choice, or for the first bridge you'll cross. Share one line. My small bridge today is, we don't need speeches, we need witnesses. Community doesn't fix you. Community holds the space in which you update yourself wave by wave. Before we close, plant the 3 signals, like seeds. If you can feel a thread of steadiness beneath fear. If you notice wave rhythms with small lessons. If your 2% acts lean toward care rather than contraction. Congratulations, you're in a rite of unraveling, not in ruin. Mark today in your journal as a quiet milestone. No fanfare, just one sentence: I saw myself. Next, we'll walk straight to the mask persona, the armor that once protected you and now may feel like a corset. Why was it born? How does it slide from first responder to warden? How do we set it down without turning life into a battlefield? I'll give you a clean map, a few everyday examples, and one small experiment to try today. If this part was the night where your eyes learn the dark, the next will be the dawn, bright enough to spot where your mask hangs on the hook. Come with me to the next threshold where we learn the art of removing a mask without losing face. We're standing in front of the mask, the persona, the one that helped you walk through countless bright rooms of modern American life, tight schedules, shiny KPIs hallway. How are you tossed like confetti? Persona isn't a villain. It's the warm coat of childhood stitched with threads like be good to be loved, be useful to belong, be strong so you're not left behind. But a coat worn through summer becomes a corset. You know it when your chest no longer opens to a full breath. This is not about attack. It's a small rite of gratitude and release. We set the mask down not to oppose the world, but to stand upright in it, no longer tilted toward pleasing, nor exiled from ourselves. How was the mask born? As kids, we read adult faces like weather reports, which clouds signal a storm, which phrases are safe, which eyes invite us in. Your young intelligence discovered a rule. If I smile at the right time, ace the right test, care for others on schedule, I get to stay. Persona is a survival genius. It helps you work, network, and speak the language of the crowd. But as Jung would warn, any structure overused flips into its opposite. From a bridge, a persona can turn into a toll booth charging small coins of truth. You start paying with chronic fatigue, the auto-replied, "I'm good," and a calendar full of plans with an empty heart. The clearest sign your mask is tight. You nod yes and feel your rib cage pinch half a beat. You flash a well-rehearsed smile and hear a hollow echo inside your head. You want to say a simple sentence, "I don't have bandwidth today," but your mouth chooses performance. Don't scold yourself. Persona once saved you, it's just confused about how to retire. Your task is to give it a ceremony, pin the medal, thank it for faithful service, then invite it to the passenger seat. So how do you tell a persona decision from a true self-decision? Use 3 small practical litmus tests. Quiet, doable today. 1. The afterglow of calm. After you say yes or no, don't overanalyze. Watch the water at 10 minutes, 24 hours, and 72 hours. If the choice came from truth, even if it's hard, a thin calm spreads under the skin like water. Soaking earth, sleep doesn't worsen. Breath widens, inner arguments quiet down. If it came from persona, a hum persists, the urge to justify to imaginary audiences a directionless drain or flip-flopping to win back approval. Calm is the body's instinct for rightness. Restlessness is a side effect of performance. 2. Signals that repeat over time. Truth is patient. It knocks through images, dreams, and sudden phrases. You don't need to decode them, just record them. If the same motif appears 3 times in a month, a forest, a footbridge, a gentle wolf, or simply the word enough, treat it as a beacon. Persona tends to fire off snap decisions from immediate fear. The self speaks in cycles. Repetition is the soul's language. 3. Body, opening versus tightening. Before or after deciding to place one hand on chest, one on belly, inhale 4, exhale 6. If the intention opens you, shoulders drop, jaw softens, belly warms and widens, eyes look farther. That's a yes from the deep. If it tightens, neck, cinches, shoulders, lift, jaw, clamps, belly goes cold, notice it. Your body is the EKG of the unconscious. It tells the truth faster than your narrative mind. No absolutes, just trust what you feel enough to note it. These tests aren't more rules, they're streetlights, so you stop getting lost between 2 voices. With lights in place, we need a bridge to where the true voice speaks louder. Jung called that bridge active imagination, a conscious dialogue with images from the unconscious. Here's a simple, safe 4-step frame you can do at home. Step 1, set the scene. 10-15 minutes. Silence notifications. Sit where your breath can deepen. Paper and pen ready. Whisper an intent. I invite the image that represents my mask to appear. I come with respect. Hand to heart, breathe 4 to 6. 3 rounds, eyes soft. Step 2. Invite the figure. Don't fabricate. Wait. It might be a theater mask, a butler, a guide, or just a color. If nothing appears, prompt gently. If my mask were an object in my home, what would it be? When it shows up, describe only color, texture, scent, sound, no interpretation. Step 3, a short dialogue. Write 2 columns, you on the left, the figure on the right. Ask 3 fixed questions. 1. How have you protected me all these years? 2. What are you afraid will happen if I live more truthfully? What 2% step do you need from me so you can relax into the passenger seat? Let the figure answer briefly in its own voice, even if it's funny. Don't edit the unconscious. Step 4, close with behavior. Choose one tiny act in the next 24 hours. Decline a needless social plan. Add 10% more honesty to an email. Say, I'll reply tomorrow morning, or simply loosen your collar in a meeting as a body-mind signal. Draw a small symbol for the figure. Place it where you'll see it. Thank the figure. Keep a weekly date at the same time to maintain rhythm. Here's the odd, beautiful part. When you treat persona with respect, it softens. It stops grabbing the wheel. You discover you don't have to shout to be honest. You can say one word slower and your body completes the sentence. Decisions change in quality, not painting a shinier self, but erasing strokes that aren't you. You promise less, keep more. You show up less often, but when you do, you're there. People who want the real you will find you. Those who want the role will drift. Not every departure is a loss. Sometimes it's a chair opening for the self. Let's not walk alone. In the comments, write 1 line from your first dialogue, no explanation, and add a small symbol so we recognize each other. If your mask took form, if your inner compass just turned a degree, if you chose a 2% step for the next 24 hours. Read others' lines like trail cairns, don't fix, don't judge, just witness. We don't need right less wrong here. We need shared presence so each person's truth has space to sprout. If you're wondering what comes after persona, the answer is values. When the mask steps back, the compass appears. Next, we'll enter the subtle landscape where priorities change in weight. Applause grows lighter, inner aliveness grows heavier. Paper goals step behind meanings your body can feel. We'll reuse the 3 tests now applied to money, body, and time to see what truly feeds the soul and what only funds the role. Then we'll meet intuition not as a mystical whisper, but as a muscle you can train weekly. When the mask finally relaxes into the passenger seat, something quiet and unmistakable happens. The weight of things shifts. Applause grows lighter. The felt sense of being truly alive grows heavier. The calendar filler's bonus points, people-pleasing invitations you can't refuse, suddenly spend like hollow coins. Meanwhile, an aimless walk of beginners, clay class, or 1 hour of undefended conversation with someone you love feels strangely rich. Picture an inner marketplace where you are the keeper of the scales. Each morning you bring 3 rare currencies: attention, energy, and affection. You pay for everything with those 3 coins. The only real question is, what will you pay for today, and will it return real life to you? To make this new values map more than a nice idea, you have to feel it with your body and test it across time. Take a concrete fork in the road. Say yes to overtime for a can't-miss opportunity, or keep your Thursday night intact for the clay class your heart keeps requesting. Stay in a relationship that requires your never-tired self, or bravely reset the rhythm. This is where 3 practical tests speak up. Test 1, the afterglow of calm. Make the choice yes or no, then watch the water at 3 checkpoints: 10 minutes, 24 hours, 72 hours. When a decision aligns with your true values, a thin steadiness spreads, sleep doesn't worsen. The inner justifications turn down, your breath settles deeper. If it's still the persona's assignment, a low hum persists, the urge to explain yourself. To imaginary faces, a vague sense of indebtedness, or the itch to win them back with another concession. Calm isn't a prize, it's a compass. Test 2, signals that repeat over time. Real values move in cycles. Track recurring motifs: a word enough boundary, an image forest bridge, lakeshore, or a coincidence. 3 different people echo the same idea in 1 week. If a motif returns at least 3 times in a month, treat it as a beacon. These beacons separate flash-in-the-pan excitement from a durable calling. Test 3, body opening versus tightening. Before and after choosing 1 hand on chest, 1 on belly. Inhale, 4 exhale, 6, 3 rounds. Note, do your shoulders drop or rise? Does your jaw soften or clamp? Does your belly warm and widen, or go cold and hard? The body doesn't write essays, but it signs what's true. If an opening appears even with a hard choice, that's the unconscious consenting. If a tightness lingers, you may be paying a price that isn't worth it. Let's see the 3 tests at work. Meet Lena, 36, Boston, famous for last-minute rescues. She agrees to be timekeeper for a project team that admires her crisis skills. The OK looks professional. That night she can't sleep. Test 1, at 10 minutes she's calm. At 24 hours her head fills with alibis. At 72 hours her body is depleted. Test 2, over 3 weeks a no-exit tunnel dream returns 3 times. Test 3, every time she opens the team inbox her neck tightens. Meanwhile, the clay class she hesitates to join sounds like play, sends a late invite. All month she keeps seeing wet earth on Instagram, at the park, in a poem a friend sends. When she chooses the class and trims project hours, her body opens like a summer door. No one mocks her. A few are disappointed, but the inner voice grows quiet, the kind of quiet that needs no argument. That's the moment the values compass clicks to true north. To keep that click, we need a tool that lets intuition speak louder than noise. Jung called it active imagination, a deliberate dialogue with images from the unconscious. You've met the 4-step frame. Today we'll run the version tailored to your values compass. Walk with me, soft and slow. Step 1, set the scene, 15 minutes. Silence notifications. Place 3 small objects in front of you to stand for attention, energy, and affection. 3 stones or coins work. Set an intent, or invite the image that represents my values compass to appear. Step 2, invite the figure. Close your eyes. Breathe 4-6 a few rounds and wait. A librarian, a rower, a dust-covered compass, anything may come. Only describe it, color, texture, surrounding light, no interpretation. Step 3, a 3-question dialogue. 2 columns in your notebook, you on the left, compass on the right. Ask 1, of my 3 vessels, attention, energy, affection, where am I leaking to? If I rotate 1-2 degrees today, what's the smallest pivot? What body sign tells me I've turned in the right direction? Write brief, concrete replies. If the compass hands you an image, say a path along a lakeshore, just capture it. Step 4, close with a 24-hour behavior. Choose 1-2%, act, cancel a social plan. You're too depleted to carry. Move a hard email to tomorrow morning to write it slower, or turn apps off for 20 minutes and walk a loop. Draw your compass symbol or your own where you'll see it. At night, note 3 lines: what opened, what tightened, what repeated. Practice this, and you'll notice intuition isn't a mystical rumor, it's a muscle of attention. It strengthens through steady practice and non-judgmental listening. The lovely side effect as intuition grows, persona relaxes. It sees you're not abandoning social life. You're reordering it, investing finite resources in what feeds the soul, not the role. A practical mercy: you don't have to be perfect. Some days you'll slide into old habits, over-agree, doom scroll late. By morning, skip the scolding and run a simple repair ritual. Warm water, 1 minute of 4 to 6 breathing, then write one thing you'll return to yourself today. 10 minutes of silence, 3 handwritten pages, an unrushed meal. Intuition likes being stood up again, not put on trial. And because this path blooms in community, step into our circle below. Offer your 3 words for true north this week: still, slow, real, plus a small symbol if you met your compass in active imagination. If you just reweighted a choice, if you found a soul-nourishing habit. Read each other like night maps: don't fix, don't teach, just light the way. You may feel a clean edge of concern: if I rotate my values, what falls away? A healthy question. When values change, boundaries must too, and several preoccupations will depart on their own. Next, we'll study the art of boundary setting and letting go as a right, not a dramatic cutoff, but returning lost property to its rightful owners. Public expectations back to the crowd, the rescuer badge back to the past, and the center chair back to your truth. We'll learn short, non-warring phrases that keep the door, plus a 90-second ritual that lets the body join the mind each time you say no. Before we cross that threshold, close your eyes and ask: if I bring my 3 coins attention, energy, affection to the right counter, today what will I pay for? When the answer arrives, however small, write it down. That may be the proudest receipt you sign all day. I'll meet you at the gate of boundaries, where we protect what you just revalued so it can breathe, grow, and quietly change the very texture of your life. If in the last chapter you turned your inner compass, then today we stand before a gate: boundaries. Not barbed wire that divides, but a firm door frame that lets the life within you breathe. In Jung's language, a boundary is the meeting place where the I and the other can face each other without swallowing one another. When the gate is set in the right spot, you don't need to shout. A light touch on the latch and everything understands. So this part is a small rite of placing the door slow, clear, and respectful to both sides. I want to hand you a 3-stage path, deep enough for the soul to nod, practical enough for the body to follow. Walk with me like you'd follow a narrow lakeside trail. Hear your own footsteps. Let the wind say the hard things on your behalf. Stage 1: spot the pattern. Before we build a gate, we need to know which herd keeps trampling our garden. Some of us carry the rescuer pattern, always running into fires, then wondering why we're exhausted. Some carry people-pleaser, smiling until we forget our own face. Others default to avoidance silence as a survival strategy. Patterns aren't evil. They once saved you, but now they're charging fees in time and life force. Begin by noticing tiny tells: the email you accept while your throat tightens, the phone call that drags on 40 extra minutes because you're afraid to say, I need to wrap here, the just this once promise that repeats like a needle stuck in a groove. Give your dominant pattern a short name for this week: rescue, please, hide, or any label that fits. When something is named, it loses some grip. Naming is the hand on the inside latch. Stage 2: symbolic dialogue. Now invite in a gatekeeper image, a figure that stands with you as you open and close. For many, it's a calm wolf, not aggressive, simply steady eyes bright, standing in the right place. For others, it might be a lighthouse keeper, an oak, or a narrow bridge. The unconscious speaks in images. Sit quietly for 15 minutes, breathe 4-6 a few rounds, and ask, if my boundary were an image, what would it be? When it arrives, don't interpret. Describe it: color, texture, scent, sound. Then write a short dialogue with the figure, just like we did before. How have you protected me? What would you like me to do differently tomorrow? So the gate stands firm. What body signal will tell me I'm opening to the right person and closing at the right time? You're not playing oracle, you're translating the inner current. This dialogue doesn't replace real-world conversations. It has your back when you go to the door to speak with real people. Stage 3: tiny behavior experiments. The 2% rule: A gate is only a drawing until the hinges squeak. Hinges are your 2% actions, small repeatable moves where body and mind work together. Instead of declaring, "From now on, I will live my truth," pick one door in the next 24 hours. 1. End a call with, "I'm going to stop here. I need 10 quiet minutes before my next thing." 2. Set a default reply to surprise invites. "Thanks for thinking of me. Give me 24 hours to consider." 3. Return a task that was never yours with a neutral line. "I believe X is better suited to lead this." Each time you speak, touch the inside of your wrist as a 90-second ritual. Inhale. 4. Exhale. 6. Whisper, "Open to the right person. Close at the right time." Many life-shaping changes begin with one fingertip on one wrist, like sliding a bolt into place. How do I know this boundary rises from the self, not from a defensive persona? Reuse our 3 practical tests. After the choice, check your calm at 10 minutes, 24 hours, 72 hours. Notice whether signals repeat in dreams and daylight. Feel whether your body opens or tightens. A boundary from the self may disappoint someone, but it doesn't leave you bitter or stuck explaining yourself forever. It leaves clean air in the chest. A fear-driven boundary slams like a spring-loaded door, loud, now tense for hours after. Let me place this map inside a simple earthly story. Noah 39. Seattle is great at filling gaps. If a team lacks time, he lends time. If a room lacks words, he supplies words. If a family lacks shoulders, he offers his. One night he dreams he's a lighthouse keeper. Thick night, heavy waves, and he keeps spinning the light without pause until he's spent. A calm voice says, "The lamp turns by rhythm, not by fear." He wakes, naming his pattern rescue. He invites the lighthouse keeper to a dialogue. The keeper's instruction is plain: set a rotation 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off. Noah's 2% is a timer. Every 50 minutes of working, talking, helping, he walks for 10 without screens. In week 2, he adds a new email line. "To keep the work sustainable, I'll revisit this in the morning." By week 3, his background tension fades. People who only needed Noah as an emergency pump drift away. Those who want Noah himself stay and begin to move at his rhythm. Boundaries don't isolate, they filter. To track progress, keep a tiny weekly log. 3 questions, Sunday night or Monday morning. 1 page is plenty, 3 minutes is enough. What pattern was loud this week? In which 2 moments did it show up? Keep it short, field notes. 2. What did my gatekeeper say most clearly? It might be 1 word, slow, clean enough, or 1 image, narrow, bridge, turning lamp. 3. What's my 2% step for the next 7 days? 1 specific, measurable, schedulable act. If you miss it next week, skip the self-scolding, shrink the step, and try again. I know boundaries makes many Americans tense. History warped it into either be nice until you're empty or be tough until you're rigid. Here, boundary is the art of riverbanks, just enough edge for the river to flow and the village to plant. Every time you say no in the right spot, you're saying yes to life. And when you say yes with a shoreline, you won't have to pay later with a harsh no. We don't have to walk alone. Step into our circle in the comments, write 1 boundary sentence. You'll try in the next 7 days, short, polite, and honest, and add a small symbol so we recognize each other. If you're building your first gate, if your gatekeeper has appeared, if you're choosing to cross a narrow bridge into a wider life. Read others' lines like distant lamps along the coast. Don't instruct, just witness that each person's door deserves respect. Before we close, place your hand on your left wrist and breathe 4 to 6 for 1 minute. On each exhale, picture the latch sliding into its groove, smooth, no scraping. Remember, boundaries don't separate you from the world. They give love a shape, so what you offer has edges and what you receive doesn't flood you. That's how kindness escapes burnout and presence escapes performance. We've arrived at the rite of letting go, not a cold, dramatic cutoff, but the simple act of laying a soft cloth over the past and whispering, "Thank you, I'm moving on." In Jung's spirit, letting go is an inner shift. You return power to its rightful place so your living core can breathe again. When your compass has turned to true north, the misfitting pieces start sliding off by themselves. But there's a fine line here. Defensive, cutting off is not the same as a healthy boundary. If you blur that line, a sacred right turns into a battlefield and the soul misses its chance to grow. How do you tell them apart? Cutting off is fear's reflex. A boundary is love with edges. Cutoffs arrive with a slamming enough. Boundaries arrive like a latch sliding into its groove. Cutoffs punish, prove, and barricade. Boundaries preserve life. Clarify where each of you stands, and if the bond continues, let it continue in truth. After a cutoff, you may feel a cold lightness, quiet but dry. After a boundary, you feel a warm lightness. Your lungs open a half beat, your face softens, the inner arguments quiet down. If you're unsure which one you're doing today, reuse our 3 gauges. Check your calm at 10 minutes, 24 hours, 72 hours. Watch whether signals repeat. Feel your body opening or tightening. A right boundary leaves clean air in the chest. When it's time to speak, you don't need a speech, just 3 short, honest, edged lines. Thanks for thinking of me. I can't take this on. If helpful, I can suggest A or start Friday. I'm pausing this conversation to process. I'll circle back at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm not comfortable with that tone. If it continues, I'll leave the meeting and reschedule. They all share one structure: acknowledge, limit, option. They don't ask permission to exist. They declare how you'll exist. There's one subtler terrain: projection. When we unconsciously pin our shadow on someone else and then argue with the copy we've created, boundaries turn into knives. Jung called this projection. Disowning qualities, ambition, anger, need tenderness. Don't die. They hunt for a screen, usually the people closest to us. The tells, intensity feelings, too big for the trigger. One story thinking he always, she never. Collapsed curiosity and a familiar taste, the same role showing up with different faces. Call the shadow back, and your boundaries become rulers, not blades. A small story. Britta, 33, Austin feels her boss is controlling and judgmental. Every bit of feedback lands like a verdict. One night she dreams of a dust-coated mirror. She wipes it and sees her bracelet on the wrist, but her mother's eyes. The next morning she tries the 72-hour mirror practice. Whenever irritation spikes, she pauses for 3 breaths and writes, "If this part is mine, what is the hungry need beneath it?" The answer appears. She's been projecting her shamed ambition onto her boss. Every standard summons the part of her that longs to aim higher without asking permission. She sets a practical boundary: keep 15 minutes before 1-1s to prep questions and 10 minutes after to capture what helps. So she leaves with information, not foam. 2 weeks later, the judged feeling is smaller. A piece of self has come home. If you suspect you're projecting, try this 5-minute ritual. Hand on chest and belly, breathe 4 to 6 for 3 rounds. Write one unpretty line about the other person. She's always showing off, then write its mirror. What part of me wants to be seen? Add a 1-line return to sender. I give the fantasy of perfection back to its owner. Choose 1-2% step, a curious question. Next time, what did you weigh when choosing this feedback or a small protective edge? Please send an email summary so I execute precisely. As projection recedes the world and you grow less sharp. Now the deeper meaning of letting go, it's a relabeling ceremony. Return the rescuer badge to the past. Return the good child to the old drawer. Return the crowd's expectations to the crowd. Here's a 5-minute farewell you can do alone or with our circle in the comments. Paper and pen. Title the page with the role you're releasing. Write 3 lines of gratitude. You protected me by mom. The cost has been, from here I return you to. Fold the page, hand on top. Breathe 4-6-3 rounds. Imagine placing it in a tiny paper boat, setting it on a stream, and watching it drift. Whisper, I don't hate you, I'm just returning you home. Keep a token, a stone, a leaf, an emoji as a small wreath for that role. When nostalgia rises, touch it and say, thank you, I'm going on. Culturally, many of us were trained to be nice or be strong, rarely to be whole. Letting go with boundaries is the third way: kind to your own truth, strong enough to bear a few disapproving looks. Real maturity carries a good sadness, like first rain rinsing dust from a street. You'll get wet, yes, but the air clears. If your throat tightens as you write the name of a relationship, a habit, or a mask on that farewell page, know you're standing in ritual, not wrong. Before we close, place a hand on your left wrist and breathe 4 to 6 for 1 minute. On each exhale, picture fine threads. Social guilt, fear of being disliked. Borrowed duty, loosening and falling away like ribbons that have finished their job. Remember, letting go doesn't make you smaller. It returns your heart to its true size. And as your heart expands, life quietly makes room. If you're still here at the final minute, something quiet in you has just clicked back into its rightful place. Not like fireworks, but like dawn settling over a still lake after a long night of Negredo. We've traveled a full arc together, the unraveling that looked like falling apart, the persona taking the passenger seat, the inner compass finding its rhythm, the riverbanks of boundary, and the soft ritual of letting go. No sudden miracle, just your patience and courage letting what's true take shape. That's the memorable turning in any Jungian journey, the moment you stop trying to be someone and begin to fully be yourself. Take 3 threads home, 3 30-day promises, small enough to keep, strong enough to hold a new life. The 2% ritual daily, 1 honest body-mind act, a clean, no, a 10-minute screen-free walk, or a 2-column dialogue with an inner image. 2, a weekly date with the unconscious. 15 minutes of active imagination at a fixed hour. Invite your gatekeeper or compass, ask 3 questions, write 3 lines. 3, 1 boundary sentence you'll actually use. Short, warm-edged, thank you for thinking of me, I can't take this on. I'll review on Friday. Braided together, these threads become a gentle rope that lifts you out of the old whirlpool. And here's your anytime reset switch, 90-second breath. 1 hand on chest, 1 on belly, inhale 4, exhale 6, repeat for 9 rounds. On each exhale, whisper your compass word, enough. Slow, right shore, poemas. Watch the body open a fraction, the inner commentary dim a notch, and the space to choose return to your hands. If this episode brings someone to mind, a friend on the edge of unraveling, someone easing out of a too tight mask, send it like a small lantern. We're not islands. 1 DM, 1 comment can be enough for someone not to turn away from what's real. And because our community grows by witness, not speeches, drop your 3 words for next week's true. North, for example, still, slow, real, plus a symbol for where you are. If you're in the night that's beginning to glow. If the mask just stepped back. If your compass turned a degree. If you set a new gate. If you completed a small letting go ritual. Read each other like night maps, no judgment, just light. If you're new here, welcome. We learn through symbols, train with small behaviors, and honor the pace of each soul. I post weekly on shadow work, archetypes, intuition, and the art of living with shores. Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't wander off your path. But more important, keep a standing date with your depths. That's the subscription your life is asking for. Next up, inhibition or fear. A 3-step test you can do in 5 minutes. I think you'll breathe easier once you can tell those 2 voices apart without an inner debate. Everything here is a language lesson for the soul, not a replacement for therapy. Jung reminds us transformation happens when we accept the whole light and shadow, sunrise and dusk. Nothing in you needs erasing. We're just learning where to place shores names in the gentle laying down when it's time. Life will do its part softly, steadily, like water carving a river. Keep 1 image you at the lake at first light, setting a small paper boat on the water with the words, I'm moving on. The ripples rise, then smooth. No applause, no soundtrack, just you and the shore. One day you'll see this wasn't the end of a video, it was the start of a new season. If it touched you, leave 1 line below. My small bridge today is so we can witness each other. And if you want to walk farther together, hit subscribe, save this for tonight's practice, and pass it to someone who needs a little light. I'll meet you in the next episode where we learn to hear intuition without shouting over the world's noise. Until then, keep your heart warm and your pace a shade slower. The important things are audible in that quiet.